everybody. As I walked into this unusual venue, I saw more action, live energy and chaos as it should be in a startup setting. I can imagine the lack of enthusiasm in a post-lunch time zone for people to be sitting inside an auditorium and listening to words when startups are meant to be about action. So no wonder there was more action outside than the presence inside, which is as it should be for a startup mission huddle. I appreciate that spirit. I am delighted to stand in front of you to discuss the dynamic startup landscape in India and its pivotal role in realizing the country's ambitious development aspiration. As all of you know very well, we are the 5th largest economy, on course to becoming the 3rd largest economy in a few years. In fact, I would say 7 in 7 is a good slogan. $7 trillion in 7 years. That is, $7 trillion economy size by 2030 is possible if India maintains its current trajectory of growth, and in that journey, startup entrepreneurs are going to play a very important role. But before I begin, let me extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Kerala Startup Mission for its very instrumental contribution in shaping the landscape of innovation and entrepreneurship within the state of Kerala. Since its establishment in 2006, Kerala Startup Mission has been a catalyst for change, propelling the state into the forefront of the global startup arena. With over 4,000 registered startups, 63 incubators and 400 plus mini incubators and 10 lakh square feet of incubation space, this mission has not only met its goal of promoting technology-based entrepreneurship, but also has earned rightfully a distinguished position among the world's top business incubators. It is a no mean achievement, and full credit to the Kerala Startup Mission for having achieved that with the sheer enthusiasm and diligence. The success stories and transformative impact of the mission are evident in the cultural shift it has brought about among the youth in Kerala, empowering them to pursue their dreams, innovate, and contribute to the state's flourishing startup ecosystem. Today, as we have gathered for this startup summit, we find ourselves amidst a wealth of insights, which is what you heard in the panel before, and lessons to draw from the remarkable achievements and strides of the Kerala Startup Mission in the technology startup sector. The summit is an opportunity for all of us to promote collaborative efforts that will further propel India's startup landscape towards further success. As we move forward, it is worthwhile keeping in mind that India's startup story is not a new one. Our country has had entrepreneurial roots for centuries, with communities dedicating themselves to entrepreneurship. In the early Indian society, commercial activities became a monopoly of the Vaishya section of the society. Later, the Vaishyas, the Jains, the Marwaris, the Chettiars and the Komatis, with enormous capital at their disposal, dominated the commercial landscape. The Parsi community played a key role in developing Bombay cotton textile industry in the second half of the 19th century. Non-Vaishya Hindu communities, including Gujaratis of all castes, started a host of firms, and far down south, the Seshasayis, Brahmin by caste, established their famous and reputable business of electric engineering in the 20th century. Our entrepreneurial vigor can also be seen in the thriving commodity trade that happened along the coast of the Kutch and Kerala as far back as 17th century. Continuing on this historical and proud tradition, the last decade in particular has seen an exceptional transformation in the startup landscape in India. India has emerged as the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, with over 1.12 lakh startups presently recognized by DPIIT across 763 districts of the country. Among these startups, more than 110 are unicorns with a total valuation of around 350 billion US dollars. Today, India ranks second in innovation quality with top positions in the country in terms of the top positions in the world in terms of the quality of scientific publications and the quality of its universities among middle-income economies. The innovation in India is not just limited to certain sectors. We have recognized startups solving problems in 56 diverse industrial sectors, with 13% from IT services, 9% from healthcare and life sciences, 7% from education, 5% from agriculture, and 5% from food and beverages. Another pertinent trend in the spread of startups in India is their decentralized presence in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. It is heartening to know that India's startups today are not limited only to the metros or big cities. 49% of the startups come from Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Rapidly improving physical and digital infrastructure combined with relatively lower operational and living costs. I was having a conversation with Santosh Jairam and I envy him for choosing Guruvayur as his place of residence rather than living in the big metros, and he is an example of that sitting in the front row. Having worked in multinational consultancy organizations, he has chosen to give back to society, and by setting an example of living in Guruvayur, which is not a top tier metro. So these are all the kinds of inspirational stories that are available even among startups. These business advantages of digital and physical infrastructure, relatively lower operational living costs, enable entrepreneurs to operate at a scale for lower cost as compared to Tier 1 cities. The emergence of remote work has allowed these startups to hire skilled labor from any part of the country without the cost associated with relocating them to the region. Availability of digitally and technically skilled talent pool is a huge advantage for startups. As the number of quality educational institutions such as IITs and IIMs have expanded to non-urban India, human capital in smaller towns has witnessed substantial progress. Accounting for nearly 50% of India's graduates in engineering, arts and science, smaller towns are witnessing a surge in digitally skilled workforce and emerging as a wellspring of entrepreneurship potential. As per a NASSCOM and Deloitte report, 11 to 15% of India's technology talent resides in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. The talent pool in these emerging cities provides our entrepreneurs with a cost advantage of 25 to 30% over Tier 1 cities. Historically, we had a perception that small towns were difficult places to conduct business. But with improved internet penetration, vastly improved physical infrastructure, road, rail and air connectivity, supportive government policies, this no longer holds. The significant growth of the capacity and scale of startups is evident from the fact that 51 startups from India's small towns have gone public. 51 startups from India's small towns have gone public, highlighting their potential. Evidence from some private sector reports show that about 22% of the $27 billion funding received by Indian startups in 2022 went to Tier 2 and Tier 3 city startups. As of date, over 140 global capability centers have found home in these smaller cities, highlighting the growing interest of global enterprises in these promising emerging hubs. With growing infrastructure and internet penetration, these locations will see increased interest from investors. In fact, multiple private survey report cities such as Jaipur, Chandigarh, Goa, Indore, Kochi, Coimbatore, Vadodara are all emerging as popular hubs for startups. Today, startups from Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities are also addressing very pertinent and relevant issues such as taking care of crop stubble by turning it into biofuel and creating sustainable microgrids for electricity by inventing turbines that run off gas created using rice husks. Given the size and diversity of the country, there is a huge opportunity to address local problems with innovative business ideas, which will in turn serve as a springboard for many more startups to grow and emerge as success stories. This horizontal and vertical spread of the startup landscape in India has been made possible because of targeted intervention by the governments, both union and state governments, over the past decade. These initiatives provide certainty and stability to the entrepreneur to take risks and to innovate. Since the Startup India initiative in 2016, stability in the startup system has been enhanced through over 50 reforms in area related to raising capital, ease of doing business, and a host of tax benefits, reduced compliance, relaxing credit repayment policies, and intellectual property right fast tracking. Around 57 regulations have been simplified for startups. The fund of funds and the credit guarantee scheme for startups support seed funding and successful credit needs. The R&D platform for technology sectors offered by such schemes such as Huddle Innovation Mission, Mighty Startup Hub, Scheme for Technology Incubation and Development of Entrepreneurs, Type 2.0, among others. Startups are also assisted in marketing and networking with corporate entities, industry associations, government departments, and PSUs. Macroeconomic regulations broadly continue to act as enablers in the startup ecosystem. Production-linked incentive scheme, SEBI relaxing the rules for the innovation growth platform, making it easier for startups to list their companies on the stock exchanges, and the government's ongoing focus on building public digital rails are examples. The launch of the open network digital commerce promises to take India's startup enterprises global, opening up for them the global marketplace. In fact, the union government's emphasis on expanding the physical and digital connectivity between states, rural and urban areas has enhanced economic opportunities for startups and also for the people residing in those cities. Large capital investments and initiatives such as the National Infrastructure Pipeline, the PM Gati Shakti program, have fast-tracked the expansion of roads, railways, ports, and inland waterways. Investors have responded favorably to these developments, with business clusters now emerging around the country due to the availability of efficient and cost-effective logistics. For example, Bangalore was one of the destinations of choice for IT and tech companies due to the competitive advantage of the cluster. Now, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Trivandrum have joined the ranks of emerging SaaS hubs, anchored by talent ecosystems of IT hubs and large startups as well. Major tech companies such as Google and Microsoft have now undertaken mentorship programs aimed at mentoring startups in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Thus, we see today startups are emerging and changing the rules of the game, and they are going to serve as the backbone of economic development in both urban and non-urban areas of the country. Through innovation and job creation, nearly 9 lakh jobs as of December 2022, supporting regional economies, generating efficiency gains with business clusters, startups in India are playing a pivotal role in India's journey towards 7 in $7 trillion in 7 years from now. Owing to the decentralized spread of the startup ecosystem, startups are rapidly identifying and leveraging on the bankable opportunities within small cities and non-urban regions of India. They are the ones which are the rising tide that lift all boats. In the coming years, such an approach will bolster India's resilience and especially in times of global economic uncertainty. The new wave of global value chain will involve the certification of manufacturing using frontier technologies such as cloud computing, artificial intelligence and machine learning within the manufacturing supply chain. In 2021, India spent just 0.66% of GDP on R&D, compared to 3.4% for the US, 4.8% for Korea, and 5.35% for Israel. And that is where opportunity lies. India has to innovate through R&D. We can already see that global value chains are no longer just limited to cutting costs through scaling production. The successful B2B startup landscape is a testament to India's ability to navigate the new GVC landscape. This will necessitate continued support from the government, both national and subnational, through actions that can positively influence productivity. This implies that governments going forward must place greater emphasis on empowerment and enablement of economic activity over enforcement. And this is a necessary component of a successful pro-startup and pro-growth economic policy. Enablement and empowerment over enforcement. The physical, emotional, intellectual and financial bandwidth of our startups cannot be dissipated in compliance and enforcement. In a dynamically changing economic environment, startups have to face and adapt to a fast evolving global landscape. Therefore, to support startups, governance strategies, processes and measures must evolve at the same speed as technology and entrepreneurship evolve. As India moves forward to achieve its ambitions of a developed economy during the next quarter of century by 2047, the role of startups will be paramount in imparting strength to the vision and direction of India's economic development. Their active participation in developing business models on the foundation of the expanding physical and digital infrastructure in the country will continue to generate efficiency, revenue and economic growth returns for India. Startups above all inspire the rest of the country. They lift the mood and create and expand the arc of possibilities, because startups are about imagining a new future that does not as yet exist. So in that sense, startups are necessary not just for their commercial gains and commercial potential, but for lifting the psychological sentiment and the inspiration of the youth in the country. In fact, if I may say so, the culture of entrepreneurship and innovation is one pandemic that India would like to experience continuously. This is one pandemic that must spread all the time. I conclude once again with my deep and sincere appreciation for the work of the Kerala Startup Mission for nearly 2 decades. May the Kerala Startup Mission grow from strength to strength on the back of the visionary leadership and the actions provided by the state government and the union government. I wish all the entrepreneurs present inside the auditorium and outside all the very best and success in their endeavors. But my last message for startups is that do not create a startup looking at exit valuations and multiples. Startups must have long-term vision. You must think of your legacy rather than the bottom line and the exit multiple. If you have that mindset, only sky is the limit for your growth and for the country. Thank you very much.